Okay, so the next thing that we want to look at here in this module is drawing simple squares and how you're going to do most of your drawing. So depending on what you're drawing will depend upon the method in which you draw it. So I'm going to start off, say, for just drawing some simple house plans, say. You may not necessarily know the start point, which you don't necessarily have to know at this point either to draw it. And you may only have, say, distances. So you have no coordinates, you may have just angles and distances. And on most domestic type of situations, you'll either have 45 or 90-degree angles. So if we just start, the way I would go about doing this is go to my line command, pick my first point, point in the direction that I want to draw, ensuring here that polar tracking is on, point in the direction. You can see that there's a 0 degrees, and just put in the distance. So let's say I'm just going to draw a square here, 2000, which is 2 meters, because everything again in millimeters. Move up 2000, enter. Just pointing each time in the direction that I want to draw, and then putting in the distance. And when we get to here, you can bring it down, you can click it on, and the square will appear under Object Snap. Point in the direction, put in the distance, or else what you can do is, as a shortcut, is type in C, and it'll close what you're drawing. So there you can see a very, very straightforward square, 2 meters by 2 meters. Now, if I was drawing that, I may decide to now, say, offset it. And in order to offset it, I would then, because I've drawn each element individually, I would have to individually offset each element. And I'll just quickly show you this. Again, offset, very, very common toolbar, and it's one I'm introducing in this tutorial. And it's this one here, okay? So you click on offset. Now, you come down here and it says offset, specify the offset distance. So I'm going to specify the offset distance as 200 millimeters, okay? Enter. And now it says select the side, select object to offset. So we select the object to offset. So I want to offset, say, this line. And then it says select the side to which you want to offset. So you can either offset this side or you can offset this side. So let's say I go this side for the moment, okay? I can then select my next line and the side I want to offset to, the next line and the side I want to offset to. So I'm just selecting the object and then either going outside the box or inside the box. And each time I'm just clicking inside the box. And when I finish, I press enter. Now that's fine. You have offset all these lines, but at the same time you have these bits then that you need to get rid of. So we would need to use the trim command to get rid of these. So a way of actually preventing this from coming up is to create the square as an object, and that would help you prevent this situation occurring. And the way we go about doing that is we'd use our rectangle command, or else we can click on Polyline. So if we click on Polyline, we'll start at a point, we put in our distance, it's our 2 meters. We select the object, again, point up at 90 degrees, 2 meters, enter. Again, across 90 degrees, back down to 180, put in 2 meters. And then bring it back down to here and enter. Now if I go to my offset command, because I've created it as a polyline, it's one object. So I put in my offset distance as 200. I select the object I want to offset and select it inside. So you can see the difference between the two. One was done using polylines, the other was done using 4 individual elements. So what I would recommend is that if you're drawing, say, the floor plans of a house, to use polylines as much as you can. And you can always undo the polylines or explode the polylines. And the way we would do this is we would use our explode toolbar, which is this one here, our explode command. So we could just click on the object, click on explode, and you'll find now there are 4 individual objects. And if we did our offset this time, 200, and we offset from here into here, you see it's offsetting in the same way as it did on the last one. So that's just the distinction between the polylines and drawing with a line. So drawing with a polyline creates a polyline, which is one object like so, whereas when we end up with 4 individual objects. And then, but the benefit of using polylines is that we can offset very, very easily. And we can do a number of other things quite easily when we use polylines rather than lines. So what I want you to get from this tutorial is that we use polylines, say on house plans, and we use polylines wherever we can. And we also then want to look at when we have them, that we can actually explode them if needs be. And we can also create them back to polylines as well using the pedit commands, which is something we'll look at a little later. Now, the other thing that I want you to take from this is the method in which we go about drawing the lines. So we make sure that object snap tracking is on. We click on and point in the direction. Now, if you wanted to create further angles on this, we can do so by going to polar tracking, clicking on here, and we can go to say a 30 degree or 23 or 18 degree or whatever the case may be. But we tend to be kind of 45s and 90s, and it's unusual that we go outside of that. And in those situations, we can always go in and change it. Okay, I hope you get it. You've got something from this in that going about drawing lines and squares and some of the ways that we can go about doing it.